Joe, how would you characterize today?
I'm sorry?
How would you characterize today for you?
Very emotional. You know, I've been there for a very long time. 48 years is pretty amazing in this business. And, you know, I started the business in '72, so I've had 50 years of sportscasting when I never thought I'd be anything but a guy working in an office with an MBA from Loyola, and went to work in banking and those kind of things, and all of a sudden I got this big break, and I got several opportunities that kind of popped out of nowhere. The Cal job was one I never anticipated. I was doing fill-in work for KGO, and they needed an announcer for Cal football in 1975, and asked me if I was interested. And I said, sure. And they said, well, how much football have you done? I said, oh, experience beyond belief. I'd never done any. I was a second string linebacker at Thornton Junior College in Harvey, Illinois. But I got the job, and it turned into this. And sometimes you need a lot of luck. I said in my third year with Cal, it was 1977, and the Seals had gone out of business, the hockey team. So I had to move to Colorado to do Colorado Rocky hockey. And because of the move, halfway through that '77 season, I was still commuting for Cal, and they decided that no, that isn't going to work. We need to bring in somebody else. So they did. So they brought somebody in the '77 season, and my whole life changed because the guy that replaced me, while I was still living in Denver, was not doing the job. And so literally, Monty Stickles was my partner, had been my partner, and he went to management and said, this guy doesn't know how to do football. I don't even know his name, and I don't want to know. But they said, you need to fly Joe back and forth to do the Cal games because we haven't got anybody else that can do this. So I did, and I came back, and I always think to this day, what if that guy was good? If in 1977 season, if he's a good football announcer, God knows where my career goes because it wouldn't have included Cal football. But sometimes you need some luck. I mean, the 49er job, because it went to KGO, that got me involved, that I was able to do the 49ers because they were on the same station the Cal Bears were, and so that led to that. So as we all know in our professions, whether you're in the media or a broadcaster or a writer or whatever, sometimes things have to fall into place a certain way. Sometimes they don't. But for me, a series of big breaks that put me in this position.
Okay, go to Jim.
Joe, as a young broadcaster, could you ever have imagined a near half-century career with the Cal program?
Say that again?
As a young broadcaster, could you even imagine a near half-century career associated with the Cal Bears?
No. Who would think that you'd ever get the opportunity to do that? This is an extremely long time to be with one team, and it's a very volatile profession. I can remember when I was a younger broadcaster, I would talk to high school kids and some college kids and who wanted to get in sportscasting, and I would say, I'm going to give you some names, okay? So I would say Mel Allen and Jack Buck and Lon Simmons, and I would go through a whole list of big name sportscasters, Harry Carey. I say, what do they have in common? And the first answer would always be, oh, really good broadcasters, they had great careers. I said, yes, but every one of them was fired mostly in the prime of their careers because it's such a volatile business. You know, you can be the best there is, but if the station loses the rights, the news station wants their guy. Don Klein and I were close pals, and when the station went from KCBS to KGO, Don lost the job for no other reason than they went to KGO. So it's a very, very unique and tricky business. You need a lot of luck to ever get as far as I have.
You know, beyond the play, what will you look back on and say, this is the thing I miss the most about doing Cal football now that you're not doing it? And what's one thing maybe you won't miss?
Well, some of the road trips, you know, we played, particularly since the Pac-12 has gone to so many night games, it gets pretty lousy that you play on the road somewhere in terrible weather, and then it's a night game, and so you're getting on a plane at midnight to fly back to the Bay Area, and you get in at 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning. So that I won't miss, but I love everything about the experience of being with the team, home and road. It's just, we've gone to some wonderful places. I mean, I've done college games, for God's sake, for Cal in Tokyo, and Australia. What a way to spend a life, you know? I mean, I've been so lucky to be able to go to those places and be part of it. And even when you don't win, you develop these relationships with the players, the coaches over the years. Many of the players who were 20, 30 years ago are still friends, and I talk to them on a regular basis. And it just creates a bond that you were part of this that is really special.
How instrumental was John Ralston in your increasing the knowledge you had of football?
John Ralston brought me to a different level, and most people wouldn't even think, well, what is the connection there? The connection is that John was the head coach of the Oakland Invaders. And so, although I felt I knew football fairly well at that point, when the Invaders went into business in 1983, I'd already been doing this for 8 years, but I never felt that I really knew the X's and O's very well. But John, as the Invaders head coach, invited me into every meeting. So I could go to the offensive meeting, the defensive meeting, the special teams meeting, and you get to really get the ins and outs and how they call plays and what they do and what makes the sport work and not work. And so John, first of all, a great man, wonderful human being, just a great person. And then to give me that extra advantage of letting me be part of it was really, really beneficial.
Not necessarily the most famous, but the most memorable interview that you conducted from your standpoint.
Oh boy. Well, if it could not be football, I can give you a great one. The Seals hockey team was pretty awful. Okay, so I can remember we had a game one time in St. Louis, and we had a center named Walt McKechnie, and it was late in the season, like about maybe 5 or 6 games to go, and I was at a post-game show. And after the game, Walt McKechnie was the center for the Seals. We had him on the post-game show, and they lost to St. Louis. And so I asked Walt, I said, you know, Walt, you guys have really had a tough year. I said, how do you feel about this? I said, you're out of the playoffs now. You only got a few weeks to go. How do you keep your spirit up? Keep my spirit up? I want to go home. I've had enough. I'm sick of this. We suck. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, thanks so much. But there have been some wonderful interviews with you. I've always liked talking to Aaron Rodgers because he would really go into detail in a post-game interview. And that was wonderful. And there have been a lot of guys who would really open up to you. It was really made it special to be able to do that. Thank you all. I appreciate friendships and support for all the years, believe me. Thanks, Bryson.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.